voting method. My name is Juan Garcia. I'm with Heart Intercivic. Just a little bit about Heart. We're a company based out of Texas. We've been in business since 1912. So we started out with the printing of ballots, and slowly but surely we moved into the technology, which is what you're seeing here today. Can everybody understand with the mask? Are you okay? All right.
Not so well?
Not,
yes, since
do
you're
you
distance.
mind? I'm distance. You guys okay with me?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Not suffocate. So, like I said, Juan Garcia with Heart Intercivic. We're based out of Texas. We've been in business since 1912, so it's been quite a while. Like I said, we started out with printing of ballots and in the printing business, and then slowly we moved into the technology of the voting equipment. What I'm going to show you here today are two solutions that we're offering for the county. It's going to be our Duo solution, which gives you a paper trail. That solution, just want to tell you right out of the bat, it stands at 318,000 per change for this solution right here.
I'm sorry, say that again?
318,000 per change. The change is 245. So I want to tell you a little bit about it. This is a solution that will grant you the opportunity of having a paper trail. So it's pretty much basically what you guys are doing now, which is voting on the screen and making your selections, and then it will give you a summary ballot, full-size ballot paper, and then the voter will just put it through the scanner.
That's not what we're currently doing. We don't have the paper trails right now.
Yeah, it looks, so it's a little bit, it looks a little bit like what y'all doing right now.
Like what we're doing.
But it's going to add,
Sorry,
it's going to add the paper trail for auditing purposes. So at the end of the day, you guys want to go back and check with what the machine is saying. You can look at the ballots, and if they match, there shouldn't be a problem. Okay? So this unit is just for the poll worker to grant access to the voter. To the voting session. The poll worker just gives this number to the voter. The voter moves over to their actual voting unit, puts in the code to start their voting session. Very simple. We use very plain, simple language, no election lingo, which becomes complicated. The voter puts a blank paper ballot in the unit. This is what's going to give you that paper trail at the end. And then the voter can just begin voting, make their selections. You can see it's very simple. The voter cannot overvote. However, if they choose to deselect, they will go into an undervote. They can do a write-in, so it brings up an alphanumeric keyboard. Very easy to use. So you can do a write-in here. There's many options for the voter to play around with the machine in terms of changing text size and contrast if needed. Like this proposition right here, it's a little small. It might be hard to read for some.
But we can set that before.
You can set it beforehand.
We can set it to be big, because most of us probably
yes.
need the big. I know I do.
Yeah,
But
so
if
you
we
can
read
set it beforehand to be at a bigger font,
Yes.
but you also have the option on site. Let's say it's too big of a font and they want to go to a smaller font because it's a little too big for them to see. They can do that, but I can do it on the fly, just on the machine. This is a vote for 2, so I select 2. And then I have a review screen, which allows me to review all of my choices. I just go and scroll down. If there's any choice that I've made that is not the choice I want to make, I just hit on that contest and I can go back to it and change it, if that's the case. If I have missed a contest, the machine will let me know. You have not made any choices in this specific contest. There's a warning sign there, which alarms the voter something's going on. And intuitively, we humans like to click on exclamation marks and things like that. So we go to it, and then I forgot to vote for governor. So I just choose my governor candidate. At the end of the day, if I review all of my choices and they're all good and I like what I'm seeing, I just print my record. Very plain, simple language is letting the voter know your sheet is printing, please wait. Then it's telling the voter what the voter needs to do with that sheet of paper that now has their votes. To cast your vote, take your printed vote record to the separate scanning device. So in very plain, simple language, is explaining to the voter with a lot of imagery, very intuitively explaining to them what they need to do. So now the voter has their ballot, with their summary, they can review their choices. This is exactly what I voted for, and now they move on to the scanner. A couple of things about our ballot. It's the same, it's a ballot size paper. It doesn't look like a receipt, it doesn't look like a little ticket. It looks like an actual ballot, so it prevents the voter from making the mistake of thinking this is a receipt and they're going to potentially walk away from the polling place with that receipt in their pocket. Another thing is, unlike our competitors out there, we don't embed votes into the barcode. So the machine actually reads what's been printed out in the summary. There's no votes embedded here. What happens with other systems is you'll basically have the votes embedded here, and if someone scratches a name here because they forgot or they made a mistake and this is not the candidate they want to vote for, and they just scratch it and put it through the scanner, the ballot will still go through because the votes are here. An explanation of why that matters. A couple of years ago, or maybe not a couple of years ago, maybe about a year ago, in Pennsylvania, they had a mistake like that. The coding of the election was wrongly done, and there was other votes that were being counted in the barcode. And so they realized it when they realized that there were more votes than registered voters. And they had to redo that process. That entire election had to be redone. So that's why that matters, and that's why we chose not to put the barcodes, the votes into the barcode. So all the voter needs to do now is just put the ballot through the scanner. It's got a couple of lights here. We call them the ballot landing lights. They go green, so they alert the voter that they can put the ballot through. You get our American flag waving, saying that your vote has been counted, and the ballot falls into the ballot box. There's a ballot bin that goes here, and it takes about 4,000 ballots. It has an emergency ballot bag. If anything goes wrong and you need to go back to hand-marked paper for some reason, EAC recommends that you have an emergency ballot bin, and that holds up to 1,000 ballots. There's an emergency access for that emergency ballot bin in the back of the ballot box, and that will be your process for your duo. So it still gives you that DRE sense of voting on the monitor, but it will grant you a paper trail. So I just want to prove real quick what I was mentioning before. I'm going to get my code. Voting session. I want to try to scratch one of the votes, one of the candidates off the ballot. So it tells me I took correctly the ballot. I'll just do my selections. Sorry to keep you waiting. I might have printed a ballot beforehand, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted you to see the whole process.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Right there, that screen you just clicked, did that give the voter an option to print or not to print?
To print or not to print. There's an option to go back. In case the voter, this is kind of like a second chance. We give the voter a final chance before their ballot is printed, because once the ballot is printed, it's going to go through the scan.
So what if they hit do not print?
If they choose no, go back, they just go back to the review choices screen.
Oh, it's just a go back.
It's just
They
a go
have
back,
to
it's
print,
not a print,
okay.
it's just go back so the voter can make any changes before
Okay.
they print their ballot. So we're giving a final chance before that ballot is printed, because, you know, you don't wanna go through a spoil ballot process. So we try to minimize the risk of having to go through a spoil ballot process.
But if it does print and they look at it and realize then that something is not like they wanted, what do you do then?
You would have to spoil the ballot and get a new ballot.
Get a new
Get a
ballot?
new ballot, yeah. Because our system doesn't embed votes in the barcode, they can't just scratch
Right.
and probably do another writing, things like that. We actually read what's in here, so, you know, we add a lot of security to
Yeah,
protect.
and then our, people working at the polls would help them to spoil that
Exactly.
ballot.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever the spoil the ballot process is, voters will go through that and get a new blank paper ballot to vote. So I'm just gonna scratch a name here, because I didn't want to vote for that person, and voters tend to do that. So you get a rejection, so that proves we're not putting votes into the barcode. And it's a very important thing right now with everything, how the votes and how the elections are moving towards, the perception, everything going towards our industry. Very important that we do not keep anything in barcodes. So that ballot would have to be spoiled, probably put in a yellow envelope, and that what the process would be. And that's about it. Any questions on the duo voting method that runs your paper? Yes, sir.
Can you tell which ballot is mine when they're in the box?
I cannot tell which ballot is yours.
Okay.
Ballots are random.
All right, and then the second thing is, there's no counting of the votes except for the last machine.
Except for the last machine, which is the scan that stands right here.
Thank you.
Explain the two bins again. What was the emergency bin for?
The emergency bin is just in case you run out of power, the machine is gone, something happens that's out of the ordinary, you have to go back to just hand mark paper ballots. In the time being, you can put the ballots through the emergency bin, because those ballots, you're gonna have to count them later on, aside from what you have in your bin, in your regular bin. It's just an emergency situation. I've never seen it happen, and I've been with the company for over 3 years, but I've never seen that happen. I've never heard about it, but we have it because the EAC recommends that you gotta have it.
But that box is locked up, right?
It is locked up, I just opened it because, for ease, but since you touch on the box, I'll explain a little bit about the box. It's got a 5-point locking mechanism. So all I have to do, there's a key and I lock the door here, and then the box comes with a security seal space, so it's tamper proof. You just put the security seal through, and at the end of the day, if you choose to bring the box back or just the internal ballot bin, that's entirely up to the process, but you have those security measures. There's an overbite the way it's printed, so there's no ballots can go through any part of the ballot box. Yes, sir.
Two questions. So first question, so we have, first machine issues the ballot.
Yes.
Second machine, I cast the ballot.
Yes.
Third machine, I record the ballot. Do each one of those keep a tally? So can I reconcile, I issued X number of ballots and I recorded X number of ballots?
Yeah, so this machine right here will do that.
But what about the middle one?
The middle one doesn't.
So you only,
The middle one doesn't. The middle one is only for casting the vote. It shouldn't record anything, nothing should go
but
in
if
here.
somebody got a hold of a blank ballot and filled it out and then tried to cast it, how was that
You need a
reconciled?
code to access the voting session.
No, I just have one. I got one in my back pocket. I get a hold of a blank ballot
Yeah.
that thing prints. I just get a hold of a blank off the middle machine.
You get a hold of this, right?
Yep.
That's what you're
And I
saying.
fill it out
You fill it out. You
and I
can't fill it out.
skip the middle machine and I go to the third machine.
You
What
can't
prevents
do that.
that from happening?
So, the barcode that's printed here, you need this. So this barcode right here that's printed out after,
But if I get one with a barcode on it,
there will not be a way for you to get, if you even get one with a barcode, it has to be configured with what the machine knows. So this has the configuration of the election here.
But
the
if I
idea
have
of
the
the election is
barcode,
here.
I'm just trying to say, is there any way, ideally you would have it in 3 places. You would keep the same tally in 3 places, because then you have an arbiter, right? So that if those 2 machines don't agree, I go to the third, and I said, does the third agree? Or 2 against 1, you know, then you get it in 3 places. That's what it seems like you're open somehow to somebody getting a hold of a paper ballot and somehow creating their own barcode, and then maybe I feed multiples in at the time I'm casting the ballot. Where's the check on that?
So the check, to stop that, you need a code from this machine to access this machine. If you don't have the
So
code, you
I'm
can't
gonna
just,
skip the middle machine entirely. I'm gonna get a hold of a barcode, and I'm gonna forge a ballot, and I'm gonna go straight to the third machine.
there's, technically, if we talk about technology-wise,
Yeah.
how that could be done, there's no way for you to duplicate what's on that ballot. So you can hand mark, and if you can't write it in hand, this is something that's printed thermal, and that's what the scanner is gonna recognize. It won't recognize anything that's handwritten. That's what I did, what I
But
just did.
but I can go Photoshop that, I can, you know, I get a hold of a ballot, I'm just saying, and offline somewhere, I Photoshop it or whatever on, you know, on a computer, I can generate a forged ballot. What's to prevent that from being recorded?
You would have to have the idea of the election, sir, and that's not something you can generate if you don't have this.
But somebody.
Technically, I'm technically telling you what's possible and what's not possible.
But say somebody else, I'm just throwing stuff out. So
Yeah.
someone
Okay.
else voted, and I take a picture of that barcode, so I got that barcode, and then I hand that to somebody else who comes in behind me.
That barcode's already been used. You can't use it twice.
So the machine would know,
The machine would know, yes.
okay, all right.
What about mail?
So if we go a little bit into what is included into the barcode, there's an ID of the election that's married to this machine,
Yeah,
and it generates random numbers that go here to recognize that it belongs to this election. So if you try to do what you just said, you found a ballot somewhere, for some reason, it slept through the procedures, and you take a photo of that, and you try to replicate it to use it on a blank sheet of paper. First, the blank sheet of paper would have to be the stock paper that's needed for the thermal printer to print. That's a specific paper that you need to find. And then, that ID that's right there cannot be a duplicate. So that will not go through the scanner.
so you have metadata for the voter. You created a meta ID for the voter.
No, sir. We're not gonna.
You've created some ID for the voter, right?
It's just a ballot. It's just random numbers that are generated for the ballot. It's not for the voter, it's not linked to the voter.
Okay.
There's no way to trace it back to you, if that's your concern.
No, I'm still, I can see a way I can hack it. I see an opportunity to
Yeah, and I
get
can-
hacked.
The only thing I can say to that is, if someone comes to you saying that a system is unhackable 100%, we can't say that system is unhackable 100%. We prevent systems to be 99% not hackable. There are procedures in place, us implementing security procedures with the EAC, with the federal government, to make our elections secure, and procedures that come from the county on the man side and you know, the poll worker side, to prevent, you know, a ballot being left outside on the ground, things like that. But the system itself, I want to say, not because I've worked for hard, but I want to say we're the most secure system on the market right now.
Okay, all right, so second question, sorry, is being a poll worker, sometimes we have to accommodate someone. We need to go outside of the polling station, for instance, and they vote in their car, right? And as a poll worker, right now, we take the machine out there, they cast their ballot, we take it, and then we return it to the polling station. If we were to do that and they print the ballot, can I, as a poll worker, read somebody's ballot?
Not with that, so what I can say to that is we have a solution that's currently being certified by the federal government and by the state of Texas. It will come out soon. I don't know exactly the date, but we have something that's curbside voting. So for the curbside
It
voting.
seems like right now in the system, there's me as a poll worker, I would have visibility, because I know you, and I know this is your ballot, I know how you voted, because it's printed right there.
So I can't speak for the system that's currently in place for the county. I don't know what's being
But for
done.
this system, let's say this.
For this system, we have a solution that's just for curbside voting. I didn't bring it here, but you can't see what's voted on the ballot. So the voter gets to make their selections in their car. There are videos already online from our website that you can check and see how that is done. I invite you to take a look at those. And the voter will make their selections. The ballot will print on site, but the poll worker cannot see the ballot.
And that was included in the quote we got?
No, because we're in the process of getting certified for that.
Any idea what that would be for an add-on?
Not at the moment. I don't know.
Does voting machine
Thank you.
number one take place of the polling book, poll book?
What's that, ma'am?
Does machine number one take place of the poll books?
After the poll book.
Okay, thank
After
you.
the poll book, the poll worker uses this machine to generate a code. So this will determine the ballot style. So you don't hand out the wrong ballot style to a voter. I think I saw hands there, sir.
How do these three machines communicate?
These are connected through a cable. That's all
Not
they do.
wireless?
No,
Not
they're
remote
not
wireless
wireless, they're
connection?
not connected to the
So we have
internet.
physical RJ45 connections, network,
We have a daisy
Those
chain cable here in the
daisy
back.
chain.
Yeah, it just connects one to the other. Our machines are purposely built for one thing, and that's voting. We manufacture here in Texas. The machines have nothing that would give them any kind of connectivity capability inside of them, because they're built just for one thing, and that's voting. The only way they communicate is there's a cable, and this guy knows this guy's connected to
So
it.
there's no proprietary internal remote wireless connection that can be connected to that computer
No,
through a network?
no, and I don't want to say this in a way that is misinterpreted, but other competitors may have something
Yes, they do.
built
They have
in
other ones,
to
yes.
wirelessly update or do something to the machines. We don't do anything of that. In order for you to do an update to this machine, it would have to be done on site. You can't connect to it. There's no, it's a kiosk mode, it's embedded, there's nothing that you can go into the operating system of the machine.
Is there anything in that software capability to do a weighting, a fractional, or decimal type vote counting built into that system?
What do you mean?
Weighted?
Okay.
Means that you can turn a vote, instead of being 1, you put a decimal point, and
No.
it turns that vote to a fractional vote,
No.
where it could be voted or split, each vote.
No.
There's nothing in there for that whatsoever.
No.
So it counts like a grocery store cash register. If you buy 1 apple, you get 1 apple vote.
You get
And
one.
it counts just
There's
1.
and you can't see it because you're far, but there's a ballot counter and a
Right.
lifetime counter.
Well, that's nice that there's a ballot counter in there.
Yeah.
The question is, embedded in the software, is there a programmable place where you can turn a vote into a decimal, which is kind of like the mess we have now,
Mm.
that sends part of that apple to one person and another part calls it an orange to somebody else? That's not in that system whatsoever.
No. I've been in the election industry for over a decade now.
Well, I've been doing it a really long time.
I'm still not far ahead, but I can defend hard. Sword in my hand and just defend it as much as I can because I know what we do and technically I know what's into the system.
Well, I like the fact that the vote is not embedded into that barcode.
Yes.
And the voter could actually see what they voted for, because that's one of the things I want to bring out with the other systems that they show. I wasn't here, so I didn't, when the SNS was here, so I didn't get a chance to look at it. But in that other system that has that thinner ballot style, it prints out your selections down there that you can physically read, but that is not what counts the vote. All them barcodes up at the top, that is the voter's vote. So whatever's printed down here don't matter. It's what's in that barcode. Your system apparently does not do that.
Yeah, and
That's a little bit of a plus.
Yeah, and maybe we use OCR, which is optical character recognition, so that's what our scanner does. We chose that method precisely because of that.
Right, because the voter on the other systems, if it's a barcoded in there,
Mhm.
there's absolutely no way for them to verify that's actually what I voted for. they have to trust that barcode, and like you said, there was an error in the coding in Pennsylvania, and therefore the barcode went to somebody else, and nobody knew it until, in the end, there was something going on.
In the end, I think they found out because they had more votes than registered voters,
Right.
and someone raised a flag and said this, well, this is not
Kind of
possible.
strange, huh?
So they just went and said, oh, there was an error in the coding of the election, and we have more votes going to one candidate than the other.
Have these machines ever, I'm not familiar with this particular one,
Yes.
because that's not the one I looked at before this, we come up here. Well, that just, question just went on my mind, never mind, just derailed my train of thought, I'll think of it in a minute.
I'm glad I was able to answer your question, sir.
So all the parts that these machines built, are they built in the United States?
They are all built in the United States, and they're manufactured here in Texas. And anybody can go to our manufacturing facility and just see how, if you go, I will let you guys know when there's a production line active. I don't want you to see empty lines. But there's a possibility, and you will wear, your white gown, and they put you a little hat and cover your boots and everything, so you don't mess with the integrity of what's been built. Yes, ma'am.
For the curbside voting, we would have to take out the first machine here to register the voter. So are these portable enough to be taken out of the case, or we carry the whole case outside?
They could be taken out in a case if the situation arises to have curbside voting.
Okay, so then we have that quite often, because a lot of our voters are elderly and can't get inside. So we take the first machine out, get them registered, come back, get the second machine, and take out for them to get their ballot. And then, do we then have to, is that third machine portable, or will we have to come back in with their printed ballot, which we can see, and put in that machine? Now, you mentioned they're working on something else for curbside.
Yeah.
But when you've got a line of people and 4 workers, and you're carrying out 3 machines back and forth, it can get a little hectic if you're busy.
I mean, it's a term of process, and I guess that's where the county has to decide what the process is gonna be. I personally wouldn't take this out. I would just get the voter registered through the poll book. Y'all have a electronic poll book? Yeah. And then you just generate the code for the voter to vote. And this is the one that the voter is gonna use, and then the poll worker will put the ballot through the scanner.
All right, so the poll book, and come back in, let them
There's
vote.
only
Take that
one
out,
that the
say-
voter has to interact with,
Okay.
not 2.
Deposited, okay.
Sorry, yes, sir.
In the amount of money in your quote, how many voting stations does that entail?
Tell you off the top of my head. We have 19.
19?
19
Okay, thank you.
with 20 machines each, so 19 controllers and then 20 of each. Yes, sir. You have a question?
Well, I just want a point of clarification. The
Yeah.
gentleman mentioned over here, this first one, the poll book is gonna keep account of how many we've issued.
Mm-hmm.
This first machine, you said it will marry up with our poll book.
Yes.
How do we audit, because we have to log this in, if this one has 100, the poll book has 100, how do we know the second machine and the third one all have 100? Is there a way to reconcile that?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, they print
Well,
out,
we can't wait till the end of the day, we do this like every 2 hours.
you do like a
A rolling poll count.
rolling poll count. Yeah. So you can look at the ballot counter, or you can print a report of how many ballots have been printed, so you can do that.
But can you reconcile it with 2 and 3?
Yeah, that's my question.
This one right here, you close at the end of the day.
So you don't really know how many ballots you have in there.
You have it in the-
Somebody walks
you
off
do.
with their ballot,
You
and
do.
they're out the door.
You have it in the ballot counter.
Okay.
Yeah, we have it here in the system for you to
And
see.
each should
It shows on the screen.
It shows on the
It shows
screen
on the
how many
screen
ballots you
how
have.
many ballots.
Yes,
Okay.
They should agree with the first.
he agrees. I can assure you it does.
But the middle one doesn't keep track, so I can't reconcile all 3, how many were cast. I
This
know
one
how many
doesn't-
I issued, I know how many I recorded, but I don't know how.
This is just for voting on your ballot.
Yeah, so it doesn't,
No, just these 2. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I had the opportunity to vote curbside this year.
Okay.
And I'm going, okay, the worker takes out the poll book, they bring it back, they generate a ballot, they take it back, the person has the machine, they don't have that middle machine because there's only one of them at the polling
Mhm.
station, right? So how do they fill out their ballot?
So like I said, we could roll this out, there's a way to do that, or we can use the other machine that's been built at the moment. That's
But we
more
don't
important.
have it yet. And then the voter, however, gets their ballot generated, and then they hand it to the poll worker. And the reason I'm asking this is I had a poll worker want to stand there and watch me vote, and I made him move, okay? Because he doesn't have the right to watch me vote.
Yes, ma'am.
If I'm voting that way this time with that machine, I hand him my paper ballot and he reads it on the way in.
That's it.
Well, there's a
And you know-
procedure there that has to be followed by, I don't know what the procedure would be. Mostly what I see is it goes into an envelope and it's blocked from the image of the poll worker seeing anything of the ballot, and that's how the process normally is. I don't see if someone takes a ballot and not put it in an envelope and not block it in some way so they don't see your selections.
The only time we have envelopes is we're doing provisional right now.
Provision, yeah.
But
Like I said, I don't know what the procedure is at the moment in the county for curbside voting. And it's always a work.
We take the actual electronic out and they vote on it
Yeah.
in the poll book, so it's
Once
just,
they vote, it's gone.
It's done.
Put it on
This,
back
then it
in
would
the
print out.
Yeah. Even you put it in an envelope, you gotta take it back out of the envelope and run it through the machine, and somebody can read it then.
The poll is going to carry that back and put it in the third machine.
all those machines.
But didn't ES&S say the same thing, that you would have to put it in envelopes so somebody, you don't look at it and you have to trust your poll worker? ES&S
Your
was
poll
the
workers
same
take the oath, and they should do what's right, and it's human, so you have to just realize that, you know, people are human.
In every system out there, there's the human factor.
Yes, sir.
Technology, like any kind of technology, can only get you so far. But there is a human factor of poll workers and procedures that need to be followed.
Are all those battery backed up?
What's that,
They
ma'am?
have battery backups?
They have battery backup. I actually intentionally left this one disconnected.
Uh-huh,
So there's a way for the poll worker to know the battery is not plugged in.
okay.
This is a tablet, it's locked here in place, you can remove it if you have, well, the poll worker should have the key because they're setting it up. And if you look at the back of the tablet, there's a battery backup that, according to the federal EAC, it should last up to 2 hours. They will last a little longer than that, but it depends on the use of each machine. Like this one, because it has a scanner and it goes through the 2 hours, but that might last a little longer than that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In the scenario that was brought up about the curbside, you generate a ballot, and then I guess the poll watcher or poll person has to cast it for you. Once it's generated, it's counted. If you don't cast it, then the generator and the cast will not match up for its numbers. Is it a way to identify which, based upon the barcode, which one was not cast?
So the barcode was
There's no link
generated,
to
but
the
you have,
person.
you can.
No, it's barcode.
No, but you wouldn't know, say, the poll worker, I didn't like your vote and I threw it in the trash on the way back.
I just want to know which ballot.
There would be no way to
I
know
don't
which
wanna
ballot
know
was
which-
missing.
I would know that barcode didn't show up.
You would know there
You
was a
would know
ballot
the ballot
generated
is
there,
there,
and
but
it
you
doesn't,
wouldn't know
you
which
would know there was a
ballot
ballot
was-
generated, but it wouldn't match with what's in here. So
Right.
you have 100 ballots in the box and 101 were generated, a ballot is misplaced. That's,
You couldn't track that one ballot down.
Nope.
That's why they periodically check those, isn't it?
That's part of it, yeah, keep the whole ballot in for.
again, procedures to keep everything running.
So are you telling me
Yes,
the poll book will work with these? If the
Yes.
poll book assigns your ballot, so why would we need something to assign it again?
So I don't know, which poll book do you currently use? I'm not entirely aware
I'm
of.
only aware of one.
Yeah, but what's
What
the
is
company?
ES&S.
Oh, ES&S,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So
This takes the place of that.
this would take the
That
place
is a
of the poll book, but at the same time, if you already have a poll book, like a little tablet that's sitting on a little
Yes.
stand, right, I think it's white, that can generate a code, a barcode off that, and you can read it with a handheld scanner that we can plug into this. And you will take away all the steps of having to select the precinct, ballot style, all of that. You just go and scan that, and it will bring up
But on the
just
poll
generated
book,
code.
is that what the poll book is? You're putting everything in, so it's
Everything goes in, everything, you put the person in the poll book and it already is generated for you and it tells you what they need. It automatically assigns to them.
But if we use this system, everything would have to be loaded and then it would do the same.
It has to be loaded on both machines.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
If we don't use the poll book, where are they going to sign in? Can they sign in on this machine? We have to have signatures, do we not?
No, not on this machine. You need a poll book
So you have to have a
to
poll book.
still sign voters.
Okay.
That-
This is just to generate a code and keep track.
All right, I got it.
So this
That's
is just
what
a
I
poll
would
worker
understand.
unit. There's no voter interactions happening.
How many machines, counters, do you have to have, or would you ideally want to count the ballots? Because if you get a line of people and they voted and they're standing there holding their ballot,
Mhm.
which to me doesn't sound very secure that way either, then they've got to go over there and put it in. Well, if they get a stack of them, you're going to have 2 or 3 counters, or just one, or what is the idea?
Again, that will be a procedure. It's up to the county how many. I can't speak with what the speed will be, what you will feel most comfortable with, but I can say, you just saw how a ballot went in and how long it took. The bottleneck, if you want to use that word, of the time constraint on a polling place is when the voter is voting. It's not at the scanner. The scanner is a very fast, simple process. There's really no major steps to
Unless it
it.
spits it back out again.
Unless it spits it back out and there's something wrong with your vote, you scratch, you overvote or something, you will have to spoil and go back. But this is where voters will take most of their time because they're making their selection. You would want probably 2, 3 of these per polling place, but just one of these. You don't need more than one.
Okay, so you can have more than one of those per poll.
You can have more than one of these.
So one of the first one, multiple of the second one of the last one, ABC?
Yeah,
You have 3 machines.
and just one scan. You don't need more than one scan. I mean, I've never seen, well,
So,
if it's a very, very big polling place, you might want to scan.
What kind of technical assistance do y'all provide on voting day in case we had problems with these machines?
Well, that's
Do
a good
y'all
question.
provide any of those
We do,
services?
sir, we do. So with your first election, we're actually here on site for your election day. We do, once we go into contract, if we go into contract, you get a project manager assigned specifically to Freestone County. That project manager will work with y'all to build a ballot, build your election. We'll be here on site to do everything from acceptance testing to logic and accuracy testing of the units. And once it's ready, that same person, the support, will be here for election day. So for your first election, and if you need us for other upcoming elections just because you feel more secure, some counties, we even do state elections as well, they decide to do everything themselves. But if y'all want us here, we'll be here. I've done many implementations already.
it's a site fee.
For a slight fee, yeah.
The first one is included.
Okay.
So I've been in many implementations and it's a fun thing to do, running around polling places.
How
Helping folks.
many counties in Texas do y'all have?
Well, that's a tough one. That's I work all around the country, but Texas is this is where we have our office.
Maybe we
So
could get a list of that. so
I'll
we
get a
can-
list,
for
and I'll
references.
get you a list for references for
Okay.
neighboring
Get that
counties,
to Linda.
counties that will emulate a little better what y'all do. So you can call them up and ask how they do. The system's been in place since 2015, so a lot of people can attest to the security of it. Yes,
Could you
ma'am.
tell me,
Yeah.
sorry.
The past election, we had some ballots, depending on what you were voting on, that had on the screen, on a piece of paper, legal size, it was just front and back if you were doing a paper ballot. But if it was on the screen, it was as many as 6 pages for them to fill out. Now, how many, if we had that again, we had that many people running in an election, a general election, are you always going to just have one piece of paper for every election, no matter how much stuff is on there? Or are they ever going to have 2 pieces of paper that they have to carry over and deposit?
I have not seen so far since we released Duo, and we have counties that are, and state elections in counties that are big, they don't use more than one sheet of paper, if you go with this system. Now, there's a hand-marked paper system that I was also gonna talk about. We're going a lot on the 2.0 only, which is just hand-marked paper ballots, just like this. So you don't have the monitor, you actually have one monitor, which is for voters with disabilities, an ADA compliant unit that comes with an ATI unit, for the voter to vote, but it's a hand-marked paper-based solution, so voters will cast their votes on their ballots and just put them through the scanner.
So you're saying we could go with just that ballot and the scanner?
You could go with just this ballot and scanner. You will still need by law a unit in the polling place for ADA compliance. So it looks pretty much like this unit. Voters will cast their votes there. It comes with a printer that's next to it, and it prints out the same ballot. It would look exactly like this ballot. So you could have either this system or just a system of paper.
Seems like the paper system would be more susceptible to fraud.
The paper system?
If you had just that mark your ballot, you could have extra ballots that got marked and put into the scanner.
Again, procedures.
What about mail-in ballots? It was interesting what this gentleman was talking about being able to make copies of ballots, or that would more come in question with the mail-in ballots, wouldn't it?
The mail-in ballots, yes. So currently, you'll use a scanner for your mail-in ballots, like high-speed scanner, or do you count it?
M100s?
A100s?
M100.
N100s.
But it is a machine.
It is a machine that counts, you put all the ballots. So we have a system for that, for mail-in ballots. We do different than our competition. We use a commercially off-the-shelf scanner. We use a Xerox, a Canon scanner. In that scanner, you could put up to 1,000 ballots through. You can choose batches of 100, 200, depending. That's what we're regularly seeing. Our technology, what it does is that it takes the digital image of the ballot as it's going in. So you can do the duplicates, you can't generate another ballot unless it's been printed by the office. So those ballots that go out, probably the scenario where you have a voter that requested a mail-in ballot and then shows up at the polling place, that's a common scenario too. You can match those.
The machine matches them.
The machine matches them.
I've got another quick question.
Yes, sir.
You know, you said that those are thermal printers.
Yes.
One of the things with thermal paper, 22-month storage, when you put thermal paper in a hot warehouse, it turns black or the ink fades away. Have you tested the longevity of how long that thermal printed ballot sitting in a box in a hot warehouse, how long will that ballot be readable?
Well, part of the project management that we do, we come on site, we look at the warehouse where everything's going to be stored. We even take measurements and help you how to better distribute and store all your equipment. But the temperature is a key thing with storing paper, any type of paper.
No, that's correct, but thermal paper degrades quickly.
Yeah.
So in the current situation that they have now, how hot does it get in the warehouse where you store ballots? 100 plus
They're
degrees?
in our vault. They're
100.
stored in our vault in our office. They're not in a hot.
They're not in a hot spot?
No, sir.
So it's air conditioned, cooled, and
That's
humidity, all that
correct.
stuff? Well, that would help.
You will have them for more than 24 months.
Right.
Which is what the law
Some
requires.
last only 9 months, but so 22 months is legal, where you gotta store it.
Yeah.
So that's.
Some states 22 to 24, you're correct, yes.
How long have these been used? How long have they been in progress?
So our old system, we started this system in 2015. So it was certified by the EAC in 2015. It's only we're 2021 already. Wow, feels like 2020 never happened. I had a baby in March, and for me, it's like, 2020 did not exist. I'm sorry.
And the warranty on this one?
Was that
warranty on the equipment?
You get a 1-year warranty. If you're not going to use it, then the warranty comes with the next year. Because you're going to probably have an election in May.
Yeah.
Cities have it, but the county does not.
You'll get a 1-year warranty on the equipment. I think that's what John included in here. Yes.
Only if this one's
And if y'all choose to go with us for this, since we're based in Texas and we manufacture in Texas, deliveries for y'all will not be a problem at all. Delivery in other states is actually pretty quick, and here will be a matter of weeks, maybe not even. If the units are there, we'll just bring them here. And if they assign me as the project manager, then you'll see me again.
If somebody had submitted a mail-in ballot and then showed up at the polls to vote, will it be a alarm, will the machine just not accept them?
Well, that happens in the poll book. The poll book is the one that detects that voter has been generated a mail ballot. So if I show up to the polling place and try to register in the poll book, it should come up saying you've already been issued a mail ballot. And the voter will go, well, I want to vote today, here, not mail. You'll probably do a provisional and put it in the
Provisional ballot. And those go in a separate, they keep those separate, and that's what the
Early voting ballot board.
early voting ballot board looks at. We have had that happen. We've had that happen.
Yeah, I've seen it in other election days.
Yeah.
I've been support in other states on election day, and I've seen voters come in with their mail ballot in their hand, saying, where do I put this to? And they're like, well, it's election day. You should have mailed this a long time ago, but they still have their ballot in their hand. Yes, sir.
So, question, what other counties or cities have implemented your system?
I mean, counties that I can think of the top of my head, Tarrant County, it's a big county, they implement our system. Y'all can look at their website and see what Tarrant's been doing and how they've, Tarrant actually has a good approach to the curbside voting, so you can see what Tarrant is doing. They've done a really cool thing with tents and everything, they have a good procedure in place. But I can provide the list to y'all so you can see all the counties that we have.
If the commissioners don't have any other questions, I think we're gonna go back to our meeting, and y'all are welcome to stay and ask questions, and we'd like a recommendation, or at least your thoughts on this, these machines after you've looked at them and seen what they will do.
I have just one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Can the county send somebody over to your company to be trained as a subject matter expert? So if we're on election day, and we can't get a hold of you, we've got somebody locally that's been trained?
You can, and we can train that person here. Doesn't have to be, they don't need to go all the way to the company, but support will be provided.
Way out here. Well, no, we don't. I think it's all.
Like I said, if y'all decide to go with us, you'll have a project manager assigned specifically.